My guest today, Jamie Brooks from CASA of Southwest Michigan. Jamie, how are you?
I am great. How are you, Johnny?
Doing fantastic. Always love talking with you and learning more about the cool stuff that you guys are doing at CASA of Southwest Michigan, helping kids right here in our community do some great stuff. And so, tell me a little bit more for people that maybe have never heard our conversations about CASA. What exactly CASA is?
Sure. Well, to understand what CASA is, you have to understand why CASA does what CASA does. We have about 300 kids in Berrien County, right now in our neighborhoods, in our schools, who are in foster care also. And they're in foster care because what was going on in home was so dangerous, so unsafe that they can't be there. And so what happens is they're placed into foster care. And when that happens, they kind of enter a no man's land. They're in a home, hopefully, or an institution, but they're moving all about. They're changing schools and they're changing families and they're changing everything that they know. And we know how hard that change is. And those changes happen over and over and over again while kids are in foster care. And so they need one person to really get to know them, who knows what they've been through, who knows what they're going through, who knows what can help, who's seen them in action, who's seen them at their best and their worst. And that's really what our CASA volunteers do. They are trained by our organization and supervised. We have our hands in this all the time with our volunteers, but they get to know these children and know how incredible they are and how resilient they are, but also to know what they need while they're in foster care, to make sure they get the very best services, that those needs are recognized, that things don't fall through the cracks, and that they know that they have one person in the foster care system that will stay with them throughout this whole journey, which can last years, that will know their story, that will know who they are, that will be able to speak for them, both in the courtroom and in the community, and help them get what they need so that they can feel safe and actually be safe.
Yeah. And you mentioned the training, and I know there's a good amount of training that goes on and assistance for anybody that is a CASA or court appointed special advocate. You work with them regularly, and you actually have some training coming up we'll mention. But tell me a little bit about maybe some of the CASAs that have been a part of your organization, and maybe share some stories of maybe some of the kids that they've been able to help out.
Oh my goodness, Johnny, we have the best story this month for you. Our program started in Berrien County in 2016. And in 2016, one of the first cases we ever got was for a young boy. And that young boy had been through just everything, anything bad that you can imagine has happened to this child. And his foster care experience really wasn't much better because of the trauma that he had suffered. He had many different homes and many different schools and, many different everything, just like I talked about. In fact, this kiddo had over 22 different workers. Just in the time that we had been with him, he had 13 different places he lived, and
Wow.
over 10 schools. You can imagine, from ages about 5 to about 11, that's what his life looked like. But in that time, I can't say he only had one CASA, but he had two.
Oh, that's great.
And one of the things that was really important, and the end result of this wonderful story, is that this month, this child will be adopted, and he
Oh,
will be adopted by a home that is over the moon in love with him, who is meeting every need that he has. And he is just thriving there. But what CASA brought to that, besides, just being there for this child all the time, in different institutions, in different communities, this child was all over the state and we were right there by his side. And in the course of those years that we were with him, we knew this child. We knew what he'd been through. We knew what worked for him. We knew what didn't work for him. So when he finally got to the point where this final home that we weren't sure was going to be his final home started to happen, one of the things that CASA did is insist that everybody come to the table and talk about what this child needs to be successful before he stepped foot in this home. So we we looked at everything that had worked in the past for him and everything that we thought he needed right now. And we said, let's put this stuff into place, everybody. And it sounds like a pretty obvious thing to do, but it's really something that is not done very often.
Mhm.
And because those services were implemented, because he had a great foster home, because he had a great team of workers around him, and because he had consistent CASAs, he got those services. The home life just thrived. It was better than anything he'd ever been in the past for lots of reasons. It worked out. He not only is safe in this home, but in his heart and in his mind, he feels safe in this home. And that is, the first step to leading a happy, healthy,
Yeah.
productive life. And so we are always sad to see our kids go, but we are so happy when it happens. And we need more CASAs to help us do this work. Um, we have a waiting list of children. We have, amazing community members who I know are out there who want to help them, and we'd love to talk to you.
Absolutely. It's certainly offering the consistency in an ever changing world for these kids. You certainly do that with CASA. And so, how can someone get involved if they want to be, if they feel in their heart that they feel like they have the at least some of the skills to start being a CASA, and then you guys can help fill in the gaps with the training. How do they go about doing that? And then when's the next training?
Sure, sure. Well, for anybody who wants to do this, we know that you come to us with a very limited, if any, knowledge of foster care, even of kids in general. That is just fine. We will take you from where you begin and we will train you both in our 30-hour pre-service training, but all along the journey. You're never doing this alone. And if it's something that interests you, even piques your interest just a little bit, feel free to give us a call. Or go to our website and poke around a little bit. It kind of gives some great information. That website is CASA SWMI, so CASASWMI.org, or give us a call, 269-934-3707, or send me an email. My email's right on that website. We'd love to have a conversation with you. And trust me, it's a no pressure conversation. We want it to be right for our volunteers because we're asking you to do a really big job.
Absolutely, yeah, and they do a really great job. The CASA volunteers that you already do have, then and you definitely need some more. So definitely, if anybody has that need or want or that desire to be able to help these kids, you can certainly learn more at your website. And also, maybe if they maybe don't have enough time to dedicate into to being a full on CASA volunteer, there's also other ways that they can help CASA do the great work that you guys do in volunteering for various things, right?
Absolutely. We have a couple of opportunities that are not necessarily advocate volunteer positions, but really help us in pushing this needle forward. One of them is our Friends of CASA group, and they help us with outreach. They help us with planning events, just another set of eyes and ears for the organization to really help us do the best job that we can, reaching out to the community. That is something that maybe takes 5 hours a month helping us out. We are also always looking for like a social media guru, somebody who loves to do social media, who'd love to do some posts and some, I don't know, all the back end things that you do on social media that, particularly if you're a college kid, you might not be able to be a CASA volunteer. You might be a little too young, but you'd be a great social media guru for us. And so we'd love to talk to you about that.
That's really great. Yeah. And that's something that, these college kids, they know a lot about that stuff. And maybe a lot of your people on your team either don't have the time or like the full on knowledge of how to make that work. But having somebody that does know those things and knows those skills is just another vehicle, another way for CASA to get the message out about what's going on with a various number of things and telling those stories. So we certainly, think I know there's people out there that want to be a part of the great work that CASA does, whether it be as an actual CASA themselves or maybe a volunteer for the Friends of CASA or, like you said, social media guru or anything in between. Jamie, how do they reach out to you and get more information about any of that stuff? I know you mentioned the website, but let's hit that stuff one more time.
Absolutely. Our website is CASASWMI.org. You can reach out to me, Jamie, JAMIE, at CASASWMI.org. I'd love to talk to you, or you can give us a buzz, 269-934-3707.
Awesome. Jamie, as always, I always love talking to you and learning more about the great work that you and all the great CASA volunteers are doing and all the cool stuff happening at CASA of Southwest Michigan. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for helping us spread the word about these kids.